I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven, and welcome to another backstage interview at the May Metals Investor Forum. And I'm joined today by Timothy Beale of Pampa Metals. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
So Pampa hasn't been here before. Pampa's a newer addition to the Maven portfolio. And I like the story because of the backstory, which is this portfolio of projects that sort of got kicked to the side a little bit and then reinvigorated in the most prolific, copper porphyry belt in the world, which is Chile. Do you want to talk a bit about, it's called Pampa Metals for a reason. So talk about that. Talk about what the Pampa is and why that's the name and sort of what that has to do with the opportunity in your portfolio.
Okay. Well, Pampa is a Chilean word or a South American word for these flat gravel-filled basins, a bit like, if you like, in Arizona, basin and range, you get the Sierras and the mountains, and then you get the flat gravel-filled basins in between. We have a very similar circumstance in Chile. Northern Chile is host to some of the world's biggest copper mines, amongst other things. It produces something close to 16 or 17% of the world's copper just from the northern part of Chile alone. And those copper mines are exposed in the Sierras as a general rule. But if you think that the geology continues underneath these flat covered basins, which we call pampas, you've got to believe that there's equal opportunity to find big copper deposits underneath those pampas as well. So we took our name from that word. That's where Pampa Metals comes from. And part of what we do is try to look through these pampa-covered basins to look for the underlying geology and potential porphyries underneath.
And you, I mean, this is familiar stomping ground for you. You are well familiar with porphyries in Chile, right?
I am. I lived in South America for 20 years in the Central Andes between Chile, Argentina, and Peru. So I've been knocking around this part of the world for a little while. That's true.
And so this portfolio must have been exciting to you. I mean, it's not easy to acquire large swaths of prospective ground in Chile because it produces 19% of the world's copper. Northern Chile is pretty staked over.
It is. It's very heavily staked over. I don't know what the exact percentages are, but something like 75 or 80% of northern Chile is staked.
Right.
And of that 75 or 80%, another 75% is owned by about 5 large companies.
Right.
So for any company, big or small, to sort of go into Chile cold, if you like, and stake meaningful ground over meaningful targets is actually very tough.
Right.
So this portfolio was actually put together over a number of years by a predecessor company that suffered the routes and low copper prices and everything else. And Pampa Metals basically was in a position to acquire a portfolio of properties, very prospective properties, about a year and a half ago. And that's basically what formed Pampa Metals.
So there's 8 projects in the portfolio. 2 of them are joint ventured. They're more gold, we'll call it that for now, targets that are joint ventured to a major mine or a mining company that has a mine nearby. So that's great. That's sort of taking care of those projects and potentially creating some opportunity there. And then of the other 6, let's just talk about one for now, which is Block 4. Tell me about Block 4, what work was done in the past there, what you see on the ground, what you can't see on the ground, what you know.
Well, first off, Block 4 is a very unimaginative name, but it is what it is.
I almost made that comment, but I held back.
But it is what it is. It's a property that was part of the original portfolio that Pampa Metals acquired. There is some old historic drilling on the property, about half a dozen holes. We're not quite sure who drilled them, but we think it was probably the Chilean state company Codelco. And it was probably as long ago as the late 1980s or early 1990s. Okay. And the reason they drilled those holes is because sporadically you see occurrences of copper oxides on the Block 4 property. And they obviously drilled some holes to investigate what was going on there. We acquired the property because it had these copper oxides. It's directly along the main porphyry copper belt in northern Chile, about midway between La Escondida mine, which is the world's largest copper mining district, and the El Salvador copper mining district to the south. And we were working on some other properties in our portfolio earlier last year, and we decided to go ahead with a magnetic survey, ground magnetics, which is one of the exploration tools we use to understand the characteristics of the rocks. And lo and behold, right in the middle of the property, we had this very nice circular discrete magnetic anomaly, which is not always associated with porphyry copper deposits, but quite often is. And it was just of the right size, a bit less than 1 kilometer across, right in the middle of the property and quite close to some of these copper oxide occurrences. So when we got around to doing the geological mapping, which followed after that, the first thing we went to go and check out, our very talented geologist in Chile, a guy called Mario Orrego. He went straight to that area where the magnetic anomaly was, and what did he find? He found a porphyry intrusion full of these things which we call a stockwork quartz veinlets, which are very, very characteristic of porphyry copper systems. So that immediately got us excited. And this particular area had not been drill tested. It was not subject to the historic drill testing, and we believe is a completely new discovery. And it's interesting because the historic drill testing, as far as we can determine, did not find a porphyry. It was just in the peripheral country rocks roundabout. So there's mineralization that spreads into the country rocks around porphyry systems, but what you really want to find is the source porphyry.
Yes.
And we believe the historic drilling did not do that.
And your drilling is coming up then. Obviously, you have the target pretty well defined at this point.
We've got a fairly well-defined target, and we plan on starting drilling in around about September. We're coming into the winter months in the Southern Hemisphere now. And although access to this project is actually quite easy, it is our most remote project, a little bit higher than some of our other projects, and we could be subject to winter events, and we don't want to have a drill rig and people out there in the middle of that. So we're going to defer to September. In the meantime, we are doing some more geophysics and some geochemical soil sampling around the central Buena Vista target that we call it, this new target that we found, just to give us a bit better understanding of the target prior to bringing the drill rig in.
And then quickly, the other 5 projects, do you want to just talk a bit about them, and which is there one that stands out or that you'll be working in while you wait for drilling it?
So we've got another project which we call Cerro Buenos Aires, and that displays some quite large outcrops as well as these flat covered pampas. And in one particular area, we've mapped some porphyry related type rocks and alteration and mineralization. And last year we did some wide-spaced reverse circulation drilling to try and understand that, looking through the Pampa. And we believe we've vectored in and focused into a particular area where we want to go back and do some more drilling. So that's probably number 2 on the list for us, to go back and do some more drilling. Elsewhere on other projects, we also have a variety of fairly well-defined porphyry targets, as well as just geophysical anomalies underneath the cover that we need to do more work on to see if they're real potential porphyry targets. But we've got a lot of work in front of us. We've got lots of things to do, but we, because we are a small company, we try and prioritize best we can. And right now, that Buena Vista target at Block 4 is our number 1 priority.
Well, I'm sure you're keen for September to roll around then.
I'm excited, and hopefully maybe you can come and visit us sometime. So
that would be fantastic.
That would be good.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, and I look forward to keeping up with the story.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.